Hola a todos, soy Silvia Leal, divulgadora
Good
científica,
morning. My name is
experta
Sylvia Leal. I'm
internacional
a
en
scientific
tecnología
communicator
y
and
líder del
international
futuro.
expert in future
Quiero daros
trends
la
and
bienvenida
technology.
al cuarto
Welcome to
Congreso
this fourth
Internacional de
International
Tecnología
Congress on
y Turismo
Technology
para la
and
Diversidad.
Tourism
En
for
esta ocasión,
Diversity.
en formato
This
online
time in
y de
online
horario de
format
tarde
and in
para
the
que podamos
afternoon
llegar
so that we can
más
go
lejos, no
further
quedarnos
and not
solamente
stay
en
just in
España.
Spain.
Y os damos la
We
bienvenida a
welcome
todos,
you all,
profesionales,
professional
estudiantes,
students,
formadores, usuarios,
trainers, users,
amigos de la
friends
Fundación
of the
11,
ONCE
de
Foundation
España y de otros
from
países
Spain
como
and from other
China,
countries such as
India,
China, India,
México,
Mexico,
Sudáfrica,
South Africa,
Argentina,
Argentina,
Brasil,
Brazil,
Alemania, Austria,
Germany,
nuestros
Austria,
vecinos de Portugal
our
y Francia,
neighbors, Portugal and
Israel,
France,
Grecia,
Israel,
Estados Unidos, Reino Unido
Greece, the
y
United
Bélgica,
States, the
entre
UK,
otros.
and
Todos,
Belgium, among
gente
others.
curiosa, gente que
All
se acerca
curious
a este
people
congreso
who
para
come to
aprender
this
sobre
Congress to
tecnología,
learn about
sobre
technology,
turismo, sobre
about tourism,
accesibilidad y por
about
encima de todo,
accessibility, and
sobre
above
las
all,
personas.
about
Durante
people.
estos 5 días se
During
van a
these 5
compartir
days,
conocimientos,
knowledge,
innovaciones, nuevas
innovation,
ideas,
new ideas,
buenas
good
prácticas y adelantos
practices,
que nos van a dar
advances will
nuevas
be shared,
perspectivas que nos
which will
lleven
give
a
us
caminos que
new
ni hubiésemos
perspectives
sospechado en
that will lead
proyectos que
us
llevemos
to
en
paths
marcha
that we
o a
could not even have
desarrollar con nuevos
suspected in
proyectos y
projects
con
that we
nuevas
carry out
perspectivas.
or to
Y
develop
sobre
new
todo se
projects
trata
with
de
new
compartir
perspectives. Above
todos los
all, it's
ponentes
about
que
sharing
participan tanto en las
all the
sesiones en
speakers who
directo
participate
como en
in
las
both the
grabadas que
live
colaboran
sessions
de manera
and the recorded sessions,
desinteresada,
collaborate in a
aportan su
selfless way,
experiencia y
contribute their
conocimientos para que
experience
entre
and
todos
knowledge
podamos
to
conseguir
achieve a better
un
world.
mundo mejor. Así que desde
So
aquí
from
les damos
here,
las gracias
we
y ya
thank
que
you.
estamos agradeciendo,
And
no
since we
queremos
are
dejar de
thanking, we do
mencionar
not want
a
to
los
fail to mention
colaboradores
the
del Congreso,
collaborators of the
sin los
Congress,
cuales
without
no hubiera
whom
sido
it would
posible
not have
llegar
been
hasta
possible
aquí.
to get
A
here.
la Organización
To
Mundial
the
del
World
Turismo,
Tourism
a la Red
Organization, the
Europea de
European
Turismo
Accessible
Accesible,
Tourism
a
Network,
AMETIC, al
AMETIC,
CERMI, al Real
CERMI,
Patronato sobre
the Royal Board
Discapacidad,
on
a
Disability,
Casadomo, a
Casa
eSmart
Domo,
City, a
eSmart City,
PlayStation y, por
PlayStation,
supuesto,
and
al
of
Grupo
course,
Social
the
11.
ONCE
Todos
social
aportan
group.
y, por
Everyone
consiguiente,
contributes
suman para
and
llegar
therefore
más lejos
adds to
con
go
nuestro
further
propósito de
with our
mejorar la
purpose of
calidad de vida
improving
de
the
las
quality of
personas con
life of
discapacidad.
people with
Salvo hoy, que
disabilities.
es un poquito
Except
especial
for
por ser
today,
el
which is
día
a
de la
special
inauguración
schedule
y el
because
viernes
it's the
clausuramos
opening
cada
day,
día.
and on
Tendremos
Friday,
3
where we
sesiones,
close.
3
Each
sesiones
day we'll
cada
have
día
3
hasta ese
sessions.
viernes. La primera será
The
una
first
ponencia
will
marco
be a
donde se
framework
expondrán y compartirán
presentation where
experiencias que nos
experiences that
inspiren.
inspire
Las
us will
otras
be
dos serán
presented
mesas
and
redondas
shared. The
donde
other two will
profesionales
be
de diferentes
roundtables where
ámbitos
professionals from
nos
different
presentarán
fields will
proyectos y
present
aportarán
projects and
ideas
contribute
para dar
ideas
soluciones a
to provide
proyectos
solutions to
comunes.
common
Entre cada
projects.
una de estas
Between
sesiones,
each of these
mientras
sessions, while
técnicamente
technically we
desconectamos con
disconnect
unos
with
y
some
conectamos con
and
los
connect
siguientes,
with the
se
following,
proyectarán vídeos
videos
con
with
distintas
different
temáticas para
themes
hacer
will be
mucho
projected
más
to make
amena
the wait
la espera.
more
Y
enjoyable.
además de estas
In
sesiones, les
addition to
digo que
these
tendrán
live
lugar
sessions
desde las
that will
3 de
take
la
place from
tarde,
3
hora
in the
española.
afternoon
No
Spanish
olvidéis
time,
las sesiones
don't
que están
forget that
grabadas y
sessions
que
that are
serán
recorded
colgadas
and will
en la
be
página
posted
web
on the
desde
website
hoy.
from
2
today.
cada día y el viernes
2 each
19,
day and on
la
Friday the
última.
19th,
Son
the
las
last one.
sesiones dentro del
These are the
programa,
sessions
nuevas
within the program,
perspectivas
new
sobre
perspectives on
tecnología,
technology,
turismo y
tourism,
diversidad.
and
Y desde hoy
diversity.
se podrá ver
From
la
today, you'll be
sesión
able
de
to see the
formación
training session
Accesibilidad
on
en el turismo
accessibility in
moderada
tourism,
por Yolanda de la
moderated by
Fuente
Yolanda de la
Robles,
Fuente
experta en
Robles,
turismo
an expert
accesible
in
para el
accessible
Banco
tourism for
Mundial.
the World
En esta
Bank.
sesión se
This
pone de
session
manifiesto la
highlights the
necesidad de
need
formación
for
en accesibilidad
accessibility
para
training
lograr que
to
la cadena de
ensure
valor
that the
del
tourism
turismo
value chain
no se
does
rompa.
not
Y
break.
en el panel de
And the
impresión 3D
3D
al servicio de la
printing
sociedad,
panel
moderado por Luis
at the service
Rodríguez,
of society,
técnico en
moderated by
diseño de
Luis
impresión de
Rodriguez,
productos 3D de la Fundación 11,
technician
y
in
en el que
design and
podremos ver
printing of
cómo
3D
la
products of
tecnología
the
puede
ONCE
ser
Foundation,
utilizada para
in which we
aportar
can
y
see how
mejorar la
technology can
calidad
be
de
used to
vida de
contribute and
todas
improve the
las
quality of
personas.
life of all
Y también
people.
os doy, como aparece
I
en la
also give
pantalla,
you,
el
as
hashtag
you
del
see on
Congreso.
the screen, the hashtag of the Congress, hashtag
TTD2021. Por favor, a escribir en las redes sociales
TTD2021.
todo lo que veamos y aprendamos
Let's
en este congreso para que los
write
demás
to the
puedan disfrutar también de él. Y no quiero extenderme más,
use
no me voy
these
a extender
social
mucho más
networks.
para
I don't
hablar
want to
del
extend myself
Congreso.
extend
Por
much
ello,
further and take
voy a
time away from
pasar
the
la
Congress.
palabra
I'm going
a
to give the floor
Jesús
to Jesus
Galán,
Hernández Galán, Director of
director
Accessibility
de
and
Accesibilidad e Innovación de
Innovation
Fundación
of
11,
the
quien,
ONCE
además,
Foundation, as
tengo
well
que
as the
decir,
president.
es un gran amigo.
uh,
Un gran amigo y
And
un
he's also
querido
a great friend of
compañero,
mine and
pero
a colleague.
además vamos a tenerle hoy con nosotros como
And he's going
presidente
to
de la
be here
plataforma
as the president
tecnológica
of the
Avia,
Avia
vicepresidente de la Red
Technology
Europea de Turismo
Platform
Accesible ENAT,
and
quien
vice
nos dará
president of the
la
European
bienvenida al
Accessibility Tourism
Congreso.
Network, ENAT,
Gracias,
who will
Jesús,
welcome us to the
y
Congress.
todo
Thank
tuyo.
you, Jesus. You have the floor.
Muchísimas gracias,
Thank you
Silvia.
very much, Sylvia.
Bienvenidos, bienvenidas
Welcome
a todos a esta nueva
to all of
edición
you for this
del
new
Congreso
edition of the
Internacional de
International
Tecnología
Congress
y
on Technology
Turismo
and
para la Diversidad
Tourism
este año,
for
como decía
Diversity
Silvia, en un
this
nuevo
year
formato,
with a new
online.
format, an
Fue duro
online,
tomar la decisión
online format.
hace unos meses, ya
Just a few
que,
months
como
ago,
sabéis, en pasadas ediciones lo
we
hicimos en Málaga.
we were
Y la verdad
in
es
Malaga
que ese
together,
formato
and this
presencial nos
in-person
permitía
format allowed
estar
us
en contacto
to
mucho más
be
directamente,
in direct contact
intercambiar
and exchange
impresiones, conocimiento,
ideas, know-how,
contactos en
contact
esos momentos entre ponencia y ponencia, entre mesa
between
redonda y mesa
the
redonda,
different
pero este
presentations
año no
and
ha podido ser. Hemos tenido que hacerlo en este
conferences, but this year it
formato.
was
La
impossible. We had
prudencia
to do it
imperó
using this
y decidimos
format, so we decided to do it
hacerlo así. La verdad es que nos hubiera
using this
gustado
format.
también
We would have
utilizar
liked
algunas de las tecnologías que
to
se están utilizando en estos
have
momentos para
first-hand
algunos
experience or on-hand
congresos
experience with some of these
online, en el
technologies,
que se permite
but online,
hacer contactos entre los congresistas, entre
and have this
ponentes,
contact between
clarificar
the different
agendas, etcétera. Y
members
estuvimos
and so
analizando
forth. But we were analyzing,
diversas propuestas
and those
tecnológicas, diferentes
technological
soluciones de
proposals,
plataforma, pero la falta
platform solutions, and
de
so forth,
accesibilidad
and the
lo
lack of accessibility
imposibilitó. Por eso lo vamos
made
a
it
hacer
impossible.
en
That's
este
why
formato.
we're
No
using
vamos
this
a tener la
format.
posibilidad de tener esos contactos tan
So we won't
directos
have these direct
que permiten
contact person to
otras
person.
plataformas, pero
But in
sí
any
que
case,
vamos a
we
poder
will
disponer
be
de
able to
todo el conocimiento
have
que
all of
se va
the
a generar
know-how
en este
generated
congreso.
through this
Sí me
Congress.
gustaría
I
iniciar
would like to
dando las gracias
start by
a todo
saying
el
thank
equipo
you
que
to
ha
the
hecho
whole
posible
team that made
este congreso.
this Congress
Un gran
possible.
equipo
A
humano,
great
aunque
human team,
pequeño en número.
although
La verdad es
small
que
in
ha
number.
sido un trabajo
So it's
ímprobo el que han
been
tenido que realizar, muy
really
especialmente
difficult
Sonia
work,
García y
especially
Antonio
Sonia
Germo, para
Garcia and
llegar
Antonio Germa,
a este punto,
who
para
allowed us to
conseguir
get to
que
where we
todo
are
estuviera en
and make
perfecto
sure that
estado
everything was
para
working
poder
just perfectly
tener esta cuarta
to be able to
edición
have this fourth
del
edition
Congreso.
of the
Y
Congress.
quería
And
empezar
I
mi
wanted to
intervención
begin
hablando de
my
agentes
talk
de cambio
talking
social que
about the
somos
social
desde la
change agents
Fundación
here
11,
at
cómo
the
hemos
ONCE
ido
Foundation,
ayudando al cambio
helping
social en materia
bring
de
about
accesibilidad
social
en nuestro
change and
país.
accessibility in our country.
Mira, nacimos hace 33 años.
We began work
Cumplimos
33
3
years ago.
oncenas. La verdad es que este número para nosotros, como sabéis, es
This
importantísimo. 3
number
veces
for us is
11.
very
Y a lo
important because
largo de
it's 3
estas 3
times
oncenas hemos ido evolucionando con
11.
la
The
sociedad,
ONCE are the name of our
tratando de mejorar
organization.
la
We've been trying
accesibilidad y,
to
por supuesto, la
improve
inclusión
accessibility and
de las
inclusion during all of
personas
these years
con
for
discapacidad.
people with
En la primera
disabilities.
oncena,
In the
en
first
los años
11 years,
90, en
from
la primera
1990,
década después de nuestro nacimiento en el año
after our
88,
birth
nos
in
centramos
1988, we focused
muchísimo en la eliminación de
on
barreras
eliminating
arquitectónicas, urbanísticas y de
architectural
transporte. Y lo hicimos
barriers,
a través
and we
de
did this
el convenio de colaboración
through
más
a
importante
collaboration agreement, the
que
most
ha habido tanto
important
en nuestro
one
país como a
in
nivel
our
mundial, el
country
convenio con
and
el Inserso. Y
world.
esto fue
This was
fruto
an agreement with
de la lucha, del esfuerzo, del
Inserso. This
trabajo
was the
que
result of
realizó
a
en su
lot
momento
of
tanto el
work,
equipo de la fundación como
and
muy
the team at the
especialmente
foundation,
Miguel Pereira.
especially
Miguel
Miguel
Pereira, una
Pereira.
persona
He was a
que le
person
debo mucho, le agradezco
that I
mucho, me
admire
enseñó mucho,
tremendously.
fue mi referente,
He
una
was my
persona lesionada medular
benchmark, really.
que en el año 2003 tomé el
In
relevo,
2003, I took over for
ocupé su
him.
puesto. Una persona para
And
mí la más longeva
really, he
que
was
conozco con
a
lesiones medular, ¿no? Una
role
persona
model
que ha
that was
llegado a
here
los
for a
84
very
años en un
long
estado
time.
de salud como Miguel
And at
Pereira, ¿no? Que
age
además tuvo el COVID
84,
y lo superó con
he is still
éxito,
in
¿no?
great health, and
Pues
even
por
went,
aquel entonces tuve
even
que
had
luchar
COVID
muchísimo con los
and
ayuntamientos
overcame
para
it
conseguir
from a
introducir
great.
la eliminación de barreras
So
arquitectónicas a través de este
this
convenio de
elimination of
colaboración
architectural
y
barriers through
conseguir
this
generar
agreement,
esa
and
cultura
he
de
generated
accesibilidad
this
en los
culture of
ayuntamientos, enseñar
accessibilities
a los
in
técnicos
city
municipales
councils.
a
He
construir de forma
taught people how
accesible,
to
aprendiendo a través
build
de
in
haciendo,
an accessible
porque
way,
con los proyectos que nos
and
enviaban
with
a la
these
Fundación 11,
projects
ellos
sent to the ONCE
hacían
Foundation,
e incorporaban la
they
accesibilidad en
incorporated
estos proyectos,
accessibility
¿no? Con lo
in
cual
these projects. And
generamos
so
esa
we
formación o
generated this
provocamos esa
training
carencia de información
and
y de
this
formación
information
que tenían los técnicos en su momento.
for
Ya cuando
technicians
empezó
at that
este
time.
siglo,
at the beginning of this century,
de los 2000, en la segunda oncena,
the second
ya empezaron,
11-year
los
period,
teléfonos móviles
we
empezaron en
began
el
with
año
mobile
94,
telephones in
a Airtel,
1994.
empezaron antes, pero Airtel lo estaba mirando esta mañana a ver,
I was
para
looking
tener algunas
this
referencias.
morning
La
to see
segunda
if
licencia de operadores en nuestro país llegó en el 94, Yahoo se
in
creó en el 94, pero cuando tuvimos la
1994,
verdadera explosión
but the real
fue
explosion
a
in cell
partir
phones was
de los 2000, ¿no? Con esa
after the year
explosión
2000, the
de las
explosion
.com, cuando ya se normalizó todo. Y a partir de ahí tuvimos que trabajar
in cell
muchísimo,
communications. So we had to work
continuando
very
con
hard
la eliminación de
then
barreras
to eliminate
arquitectónicas, pero trabajar muchísimo
barriers
para evitar que la
so
tecnología
that
naciera con
technology
problemas de
would
accesibilidad.
not have
Y esto era lo que
accessibility
estamos
issues. And that's
viviendo día a día,
what
¿no?
we were working on
Muchos
every
teléfonos
day.
móviles,
A lot of
el
mobile
primer
telephones,
smartphone,
the
aquellas
first smartphone,
BlackBerry
the
por
first
allá de los 2000,
BlackBerry
en 2003
around
nacieron las BlackBerry, y
2003,
cómo nacían con
and
verdaderos
how they
problemas de
really did have
accesibilidad.
accessibility
Y
problems
tuvimos
for
que
people with
trabajar a lo largo de
disabilities.
ese
And we had to
tiempo
work over this
para
period of time
poder evitar
to
que la
prevent
tecnología
or to
siguiera
make
surgiendo
sure that
con
technology
problemas
did
de
not have
accesibilidad. Y ya,
accessibility
bueno, en esta
barriers.
última
And now in this last
oncena
11-year
hemos
period,
puesto en marcha
we've
muchísimos
implemented
proyectos
many projects
relacionados con la tecnología
related
en los
to
últimos años,
technology
relacionados con las tecnologías
and
emergentes, las
emerging
tecnologías
technologies,
disruptivas. Y si a
disruptive
lo largo de
technologies.
esta
And in
presentación, de
this
esta
presentation,
conferencia
in this
inaugural, os voy a contar
inaugural
lo que hemos
speech,
hecho
I
en
want
estos
to
últimos
talk
años,
about what
las
we've done
cuestiones que
just
creo
in recent
más
years, because I think
relevantes
these are
que
some of the
han
most
ayudado
important progress that has helped
y han contribuido
and contributed
a esa
to
transformación
this
social.
social
En primer lugar, me
transformation process.
gustaría
First of all,
hablar
I would like to
de
talk about
normalización,
standardization,
cómo esta
how
herramienta,
this
una norma, puede ayudar
tool,
a todos a
how a
mejorar
standard
la
can help us
accesibilidad.
to improve accessibility.
La normalización, en principio, puede resultar
Standards or standardization
un trabajo
can
etéreo que se
sound
plasma en un documento.
kind of
Las personas con
ethereal.
discapacidad necesitamos resultados, necesitamos que realmente
We need
los
to
entornos, productos y servicios sean accesibles,
make sure that products
pero
and
una
services
norma
are accessible, but
realmente
it's a standard.
ayuda
The
a
standards
los
really do
técnicos,
help
a los
the
profesionales,
technicians
a
and
las
professionals
industrias, a las
and
administraciones
industries, the
públicas,
public
a
administrations as well,
implementarlo
to
de forma
implement
correcta.
these in
En
a proper
definitiva,
way. In short,
incorpora,
to
genera
incorporate
un
and
lenguaje
generate
común,
a
conceptos
common
comunes,
language,
criterios
common
comunes,
concepts,
que
common
ayuda a
periods that
todos a
helps
incorporar
everyone
la accesibilidad
to incorporate
en este caso.
accessibility
Hace unos
in this
años,
case.
Avelino
A
Brito,
few
que
years
fue director
ago,
general
the Director
de
General
UNE,
of
comentaba que
UNE of UNE
si
said
en
that
España el
in
tejido
Spain,
productivo,
the
la empresa, la
productive
administración
fabric,
pública, la sociedad civil se
the civil
involucrara
society, if they
en
all become
materia
involved
de normalización
in
tanto como la Fundación
standardization
11
as much as the
se
ONCE Foundation
involucra en materia de
and
normalización en accesibilidad,
accessibility
España
standardization,
sería en
Spain
materia de
would
normalización como Alemania o estaría
would
por
even be
encima de Alemania,
above
porque
Germany in that
la
regard.
involucración que hemos tenido
And the involvement that we
en
had
materia de
in
normalización, siendo trabajos, como
standardization
digo, arduos, a veces
with
etéreos, llegar a
very
consensos es
hard work,
hiper
reaching
complicado,
consensus is
pero cuando
extremely
ves
difficult.
finalizado el
But
documento, la
once
verdad
the
es que el
document finally
orgullo
does
que te
come out,
produce,
the
la
pride that you
satisfacción que
feel,
te
the
produce es muy
satisfaction
alta,
that it produces is
porque
very high,
sabes que tienes,
because
que
you
has
know
generado un
that you've
documento
generated
de
a
gran utilidad
document that
para
is
toda la
very
sociedad.
useful for the
Y en
entire
estos últimos
society.
años, de
And
hecho,
over in recent years,
desde finales
since the
del
end
año 2000, pero se ha
of the
publicado
year
en
2000,
España en el
this was published in
2021, la norma
2021 in Spain, the
UNE, la
standard
17210,
210 or
se centra en
17-2010 that focuses on
accesibilidad al
accessibility
entorno construido.
in
Habla de requisitos
constructed environments,
funcionales, no da
functional
requisitos técnicos,
requirements, technical
pero la
requirements,
importancia
and
de
the
esta norma de
importance of this
accesibilidad al entorno construido,
accessibility standard
que si os
in
digo, nos ha
constructed
tocado
environments,
trabajarla de
which
forma muy intensa desde
required
España. UNE
tremendous amount
ha
of
sido
work in
la
Spain.
Secretaría Técnica,
UNE was the
la
technical
Fundación 11,
secretariat,
a mí
the
personalmente me ha
ONTE
tocado ser
Foundation
el
was
chairman
I was the
de la
chairman
norma,
through ONTE of
presidente
the
del
standard,
proyecto de norma, de los grupos
the draft
de trabajo.
standard, and all of that work,
Empezó
and it began.
a trabajarse, a
We
pensar en
began
la
to
elaboración de una norma
think
en el
about
año 2006,
drawing up
para que
the
veáis el
standard
proceso
in
tan largo
2006. You can see this was
que
a
lleva
very
generar una
long
norma.
process
Luego
to
tuvimos una
generate
primera
a
fase,
standard. We had a
que
stage
allí
one
estuvimos analizando la
in the
accesibilidad
process,
ya
looking at
de
the
hacer
different
esta norma,
needs
y
that we needed to include
finalmente
in
se
the
inició la
standard.
segunda fase
And
del
then the
mandato,
second stage was the mandate
por el que se regía este proyecto de
governing
norma
this
para llegar a un
draft
consenso. Y ya tenemos
standard to
a
reach
nivel europeo, en
consensus. And
España
then
probablemente no aporte mucho, ya teníamos la UNE 170.001, una norma pionera que se
we
aprobó
had
a principio de este siglo,
another
a principios de los
more
años 2000,
international standard
y que
that
hablaba
came into
precisamente
force that talks about
de estas cuestiones. Pero
these
realmente
issues. But
importante es que
really,
ya tenemos un documento
now
único,
we have a
un
unique
documento común
document, a
en
shared
toda
common
Europa.
document through in
Y
all of
esto
Europe now.
realmente
And this
genera
has
muchísimo,
generated
muchísimo valor a todos los
tremendous
profesionales
value to
que
all
tienen que
professionals
trabajar
that have to
en
work
nuestra
in
Unión Europea.
the European Union.
Realmente hemos conseguido un documento de
So we
consenso
have
en
a
el que hemos tenido
a
que en
consensus
algunos
document,
momentos desatascar algún bloqueo,
and
bloqueos que se producían con
we had
otros
to work hard to
grupos
come to
o
consensus, of
comités
course, in
de
different committees,
normalización.
standard
Recuerdo
committees.
precisamente con ascensores tuvimos un problema importante porque
When
había
talking
un
about
grupo de personas con
lifts, there was a group
discapacidad
of people with
que demandaba
disabilities
una
that
serie
were
de
calling for a whole series of
ayudas técnicas, productos
technical
de
aids
apoyo, soluciones tecnológicas
and
en el ascensor, pero que
technological
tenían que estar
solutions for
regulado
lifts
por
that
el
needed to be
grupo de
regulated
trabajo que
by
normaliza
the working group to
los
create
ascensores
the standards for
por este comité,
lifts.
¿no? Pero bueno, conseguimos
So it
finalizar la
was
norma y ya
difficult,
tenemos
but
un
we did
documento
come up with this
realmente útil.
document, which is very
Otra norma
useful.
también
Another
con
standard,
marchamo muy español, una norma
very
que
Spanish,
nace desde España
that
y que tiene
was initiated
impacto
in
en
Spain and had
todo el
an
mundo, es
impact
la
in the whole
norma de
world,
turismo,
is the
la ISO
tourism
21902. Y ahí sí que
tourism
tanto UNE
standard
como Secretaría Técnica
21902. Now, the technical
Nación 11, en mi
secretariat
caso como
in
Project Leader,
ONCE
y como convenor Marina Diotayevi con todo su equipo, con
and
Igor y con
Igor's
todo su
team,
equipo, hemos conseguido
we've
llegar a buen puerto esta norma. Una norma que nos ha llevado
were
muchísimo
able to
menos
come up
tiempo.
with this standard.
Apenas 3 años hemos conseguido
It's only
llegar a
three.
finalizar y ver
It took
este documento
only 3 years
publicado.
to publish this document on this standard,
Una norma que nacía,
and this
partía con un gran reto.
had a huge challenge ahead of it at the
Teníamos
beginning. We had
que conseguir un
to
documento que
come
fuera
up with a
aplicable
document that
tanto
could
en
be
España,
applicable both in
en
Spain,
Europa,
in
en
Europe,
Estados Unidos
in
o
the
Japón,
United
por
States,
hablar de
and
países
Japan, just talking about
bastante avanzados en materia de
some
accesibilidad,
advanced
como en
countries
otros países, no
and
quiero
in
dar
other countries as
ningún
well,
nombre, pero sí países en desarrollo
but
que no tienen
developing countries
implementada,
as well that
incorporada la
hadn't
accesibilidad al
implemented
mismo nivel, y eso sí que
any
era un gran
accessibility
reto, pero
issues yet. And this
conseguimos
was
el
a big
consenso
challenge to get
y
a
conseguimos
consensus
que esta
and
norma
to see that this
haya
standard
visto la luz y se haya publicado.
could be
Una norma que se
published and
publicó
applied.
en el año
Now, another
2018,
one applied in 2018,
que por tanto se
and therefore
publicó antes del
it
pasado
was
Congreso de
published before the
Tecnología y
last
Turismo para la Diversidad, pero
Technology
que quería
Congress, but I
contarla
did
hoy
want to
por
talk
la
about it
importancia
today as well,
que
given
tiene
its
la accesibilidad
importance in
cognitiva,
accessibility, cognitive accessibility
unos colectivos, una
for
accesibilidad
groups
con la que teníamos una gran deuda.
where we have a
Una
lot of work
accesibilidad
to
que había
do
que
so,
trabajarla, que había que
accessibility that we
avanzarla,
need
que
to
había
work
que
on. We need
generar
to
conocimiento
create a
para
knowledge
poderla
base to be able
incorporar y
to
para poderla
incorporate and be able to
realmente desarrollar.
really develop
Y gracias al trabajo de
this standard.
muchos,
Now, thanks to the work
de
on the
CEPAD,
part of many
de
people,
UNE, de todas las entidades
UNE
del movimiento
and other
asociativo,
different
de
members of
personas
civil
con
society
discapacidad
and people with
intelectual, del
intellectual
CERMI,
disabilities, CERME,
conseguimos
we did manage
aprobar
to
esta
pass
norma
this
de lectura
standard
fácil. Una
on
norma que va a
easy
ayudar
reading.
muchísimo a
This
generar
helped
documentos y elaborar
in generating
textos
documents
que puedan
and
ser
text that could be
utilizados por
used and
personas
read
con
by
algún
people
tipo
with
de
some type
discapacidad de
of
comprensión. Y esto era muy importante que lo
understanding
pusiéramos
disability.
en
And this was
marcha para tener
extremely important
criterios comunes,
to come up
criterios
with common
que
criteria
estuvieran
that
armonizados.
would
Es
be
una norma experimental, con
harmonized.
lo
It's
cual para
still
llegar a esa
experimental.
armonización todavía
We haven't
nos
reached that
queda
harmonization yet. We
un
still have
proceso,
a whole
pero
process to
criterios
work
que
there, but
estuvieran
criteria
consensuados
that
por
were
todas
agreed by
partes.
all of the pairs.
Otro documento que ayudamos a traducir, que viene del EDF, del Foro Europeo de Personas con Discapacidad, es el Toolkit, el manual para la transposición de la Ley Europea de Accesibilidad. Como sabéis, se aprobó la European Accessibility Act, que su transposición será al año que viene. Y ha sido un documento muy fácil, muy sencillo, un documento que describe muy bien todos los requerimientos de la ley, todos los ámbitos que abarca, todos los plazos que debe cumplir esta ley. Un documento que entendíamos que debía de ser traspuesto traducido a nuestro idioma, tan solo está en inglés, en lengua de signos y en castellano. Y esto ha sido fruto del trabajo, del esfuerzo conjunto del CERMI y de nuestra fundación. Y hace unos meses se pusieron en contacto con nosotros desde la World Travel Tourism Council, que es el consejo que aglutina a la industria del turismo. Es un organismo en el que las grandes empresas, las grandes industrias turísticas se reúnen para generar conocimiento y estaban muy interesados en desarrollar unas guías, un documento que hablara de inclusión, que hablara de
interested in developing a document that talks about accessibility. That's why they got in touch with our organization in order to be able to collaborate with them in the development of this document. So this standardization is the result of these standards, and the result are these certifications that are very useful, that can be helpful both for the producer, for the and the company that creates this tourism project or product, and it makes clear that they're fulfilling all of the accessibility requirements. And they also make it easier for the user to know whether this product that they're buying is going to fulfill their needs. An expert in accessibility, a technician from our foundation, can do a user test for different types of disabilities. This is the standard way of analyzing this accessibility, and also to be able to determine through this a mobile seal, approval seal, that this cell phone is actually accessible. Recently, given the request of some producers that were interested in receiving this seal of approval for different technological devices other than cell phones, Samsung specifically, well, we decided to launch the AT seal. It's similar to the mobile seal. It's based upon standards, on the standard 4/9, and on the requisites of the European Accessibility Act in order to certify whether a device, for example, a television, is actually accessible. So it's important for the production of any type of devices around the world, such as Samsung, which is North Korean, as you may know, come to us to certify their products. For us, this is a huge deal because it positions our country as leaders in this matter at the international level. We also received a request of students that were receiving training within our foundation. We started developing these new certifications for training. Training is still free. No one had to pay to access this Congress, but if someone wants to receive a certification, it has a small, they have to pay a small fee. It's around 50 euros. We wish that you will get certified if this is going to provide you some kind of added value that can be useful for your training curricula. If it can be helpful for any of you, I would like to encourage all of you to receive this certification. The funds that we receive through the payment of the certifications, we reinvest them in new projects. These funds are used to generate new technological projects related to accessibility. It's a result of the collaboration between the Royal Patronage for Accessibility and the ONCE Foundation. We launched last year this Accessibilitas website. It was launched last year. Probably many of you are already visiting it. But it's clearly a reference website in the matter of accessibility in the Spanish language. This was done with funds of the Royal Patronate for Disability and ONCE Foundation. And our goal is for it to become a repository that collects each and every question related to accessibility. Here's the landing page with the menu of the website. We have a team that collects news, things that we receive from people who are connected to our website that want to make public this information. We also organize training sessions, which are key for us. And that's why we place so much importance on this area. We're also performing analysis and seeking any possible line for fundraising in order to be able to assist, for instance, companies that are trying to improve their accessibility. There's also a part of the platform that is especially interesting. This is all support materials. The fourth line on the slide is for companies that work in 3D. It's very useful for anyone through very low-cost design can print using a 3D printer at home or in their city, and it can help them solve any issue they might have through these support materials. We have this network of collaborators, and we're trying to get people in touch with designers so we can upload more and more products so we can provide more value for the users of our website. Another important part of the website is our media library. We haven't been able to publish everything, but we try to link to the websites where they're in. The team that makes Accessibilitas possible is doing a very important job for doing a very important summary of all of the documents in order to inform the reader about the use. How useful the publications are. We also have technical and legal regulation. We also have success stories. All of this can be uploaded in the platform so they can be work of inspiration for anyone. Another website is Hispanet, which is a historical website for our foundation and is focused on disability in general. Training and publications for us are very important, so we would like to encourage all of you to sign in to our library. Given the interest of our publications, we have an average of 40,000 yearly downloads. Each year we publish 10 to 15 new documents in order to generate and disseminate knowledge. To provide some references of our latest publishings, we have provided the technical handbook for accessibility in municipalities. This was presented in 2011 and we updated it in 2019, and it's turning out to be very useful for technicians who manage accessibility in their municipalities. It's also an online training program. So through this channel, you can find a lot of mock courses, MOOC. These are open massive open online courses, as its name states, and they're very useful for anyone who might be interested in this matter. And we have launched several projects that provide an answer to the needs of the incorporation to the work market of people with disabilities. Now I'm going to play a video that talks about the bank of support products, and then I will play another video that I will introduce afterwards about the Borsar project that has been developed jointly with Microsoft in order to help people with disabilities. Well, this video tells about how our bank for support products functions.
Y el Real Patronato sobre Discapacidad. Por la igualdad de oportunidades en el trabajo. La sociedad se está adaptando, pero aún hay camino por recorrer.
Society is adapting. There's still a long path to walk. Don't be the last one to do it. Foundation ONCE and the Real Patronage for Disability launches the first product bank for companies, freelancers, and SMEs. We offer counseling and support products that a person with disabilities might need in order to perform their job properly. That way, we contribute to equal opportunities for people with disabilities when they're hired by a company. We're a bank, but for products, and we're on your side. We make things easier for you. We provide these products without any cost for the company for a limited time, so that entities, workers can have the chance to know whether they want to keep going on their contractual relationship. And now I'm going to play a video that tells how an artificial intelligence project works in order to help people with intellectual disabilities to train their soft skills, to improve those soft skills. This is something that we need to develop. We have created the algorithm, and now we're feeding knowledge into the machine and training the algorithm itself so that we can yield a product or a software that can help these people be evaluated upon on these soft skills. This is highly relevant because often these people are left out. Developers for this type of software often forget about this part of the population. We have this algorithm bias, and it's excluding for many people who are non-standard. They don't fit the average people. That's what happens to us people with disabilities, because we do not fit the average, so we're excluded in the end. Let's see the video.
Hoy en día, las empresas no solo utilizan
Nowadays, companies not only use CVs to assess training and professional experience and their fit into their workforce, they also assess soft skills. Among them, we have the ability to adapt to change or emotional intelligence. The same thing happens when you want to access a specialized or professional training. According to LinkedIn, among the most relevant soft skills in 2021, we find responsibility, work ethic, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. These are traits of the personality that we have chosen to be assessed through the GOSA application. Its main goal is for people with disabilities to be able to access soft skill tests through a very highly personalized method through the use of artificial intelligence and gamification. Artificial intelligence is covered by cognitive services by Microsoft. We have also created a gamification process in the shape of a puzzle in order to encourage the participant to go all the way to the end. It's accessed through a website which is accessible for people with disabilities, whether they be visual or cognitive. They can access through storytelling or easy reading, or both. Accompanying our character through 3 brief experiences, we are able to access 3 aspects of personality, as we mentioned before.
GOSA, un proyecto de
GOSA, a
fundación
foundation
con
of
el
the
apoyo de
project
Microsoft.
with the support of Microsoft.
En el ámbito de las Smart Cities llevamos trabajando hace tiempo.
In the scope of smart cities, we've been working for a while.
Smart Human
We
City.
have this concept called a smart human city because we were very concerned on how this revolution in our cities, this incorporation of technology into our cities was leaving out human beings and human diversity, in which way it was excluding many people. We were very concerned with this issue, so we have developed our own projects in order to improve the accessibility of any citizen, their interaction with their physical space. I would like to talk about several solutions that we're currently developing. First one is Incluye project. It's a mobile app for the analysis of accessibility of buildings. Probably we're skipping ahead of technology. This has happened to us before in the past. Starting projects for which technology wasn't mature enough yet. And this is what is happening to us. This application, this app works through the camera of the phone. Through the use of several gadgets, it's able to measure the accessibility of the buildings. But currently, the resolution of this image acknowledgement systems is not precise enough for what we need. However, we're using it in order to raise awareness. We're working with Samsung and Santillana in order to help accessibility on schools. We are distributing this application so that children can play and assess the accessibility of their buildings. We're currently producing reports, not automatically, which was our goal, but manually. We will be able to improve this, and we already have the platform.
And then we have the Gorison project. They're probably listening to us right now. I wanted to say hello to them. Great professional and a fantastic person who's having a little difficulty right now, but I'm sure that he'll soon be out of the hospital and back with us. So, Mari Carmen, thank you. She has worked on this solution. This is a mobile application to interact with lifts. Many times people come to a lift and maybe once they're in the lift, they found that they're having trouble getting in and out of the lift. A blind person sometimes comes to a lift and can't find the buttons, or it's very difficult to find the buttons. And if that's and most times they're not in Braille or have any other information. Now, with these new lifts, you don't have to touch anything, but with the mobile telephone, you can activate the lift. And that's fruit of collaboration with NIAS systems and with different companies, different lift companies. We'll see a video in just a moment. Another project by Natalie and Victor's team is the Siberian Center for the Fight Against Forest Fighters. This is for accessibility in emergencies. We're training emergency personnel so they know how to evacuate a person with a disability. Just this Friday, we won an award in Catalonia in this area. And we're also developing an application to be able to communicate with people with disabilities in the case of an event like this. And this project, funded by the European Commission, it's an inter-RED program, and Jesús from Andalusia and Portugal and different universities participated. and it will bear fruit at the end of next year, and it will resolve a very important problem that we have with people with disabilities in cases of evacuation. Another project that we're working on, where we're really cutting edge technology, is an artificial intelligence system working with images, maxi learning, while feeding the system with photographs. It can discriminate whether a hotel, for example, is accessible or not. It recognizes whether there are ramps or not, whether there's a carpet, different vertical glass doors and so forth, so that a person with a visual deficiency has no problems.
Pero es lo que tienen los proyectos de I+D. Seguiremos investigando, seguiremos.
We are researching, like I said, this is cutting edge technology that we're advancing on. And we'll take a look at a video now on the Pulse, what's called the Pulsate project, about the lifts.
El ascensor es el medio de transporte más utilizado en el mundo.
Is the most frequently used mode of transport used in the world. It's used in the healthcare center and in all areas. We're talking here about universal accessibility for lifts. And given the healthcare system and to promote inclusion of people with disabilities, the UNSAFE Foundation and the Business Federation have signed a collaboration agreement to develop virtual buttons for lifts to provide security and universal accessibility for elevators or lifts.
Es un sistema que permite que
this is a system where any user can use a lift without having to physically use the buttons on the lift. Now, using a mobile application that we are developing for Android and for Apple, we can use Bluetooth technology for this. You install a number of devices in the lift so that this can be used. This can be used with all the different brands of lifts in the market. So it'll be a universal remote control. And the typical system of buttons has an intuitive type of format that we wanted to copy in our virtual remote control for lifts.
Desde el Unión Tecnología y Accesibilidad, junto a la
our accessibility organization, we've been working on designing an easy-to-use application which is accessible. We can find this using a voice or according to the configuration, the accessibility configuration that we have on our phones. This is the voice assistance on a person's phone, bringing up the application to call a lift. So the mobile phone can use this application, which is extremely easy to use and intuitive. Since the beginning of 2020, we've been working together with NIA Systems and the UNSAFE Foundation, and we're making great progress. And we'll soon be launching this project in the Q3 of 2021. This is an ambitious project. And I would like to invite all the different companies in the sector to form part of this initiative, to come on board.
Bien, otro proyecto, como veis,
another project. As you can see, we never work by ourselves. We always work in collaboration with different partners. We have a project on the Way of St. James, the Camino de Santiago. This is one of the projects where we had the most colleagues working together. I'm going to show you a video now using Microsoft technology, but we've been working for several years to improve the accessibility of the communication and the signposting of the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James. This is for the physical. It's a difficult path for a person with disabilities, and we're collecting information from all of the different lodges along the path to make them accessible and provide this information to the pilgrims going to Santiago. We have a repository of all the different technologies, and this is an application that's downloaded by all of the pilgrims. We'll see an example of this now. And we have the Line Explorer technology to help people find their way so they can orient themselves better. We also have technologies that will really help pilgrims. So let's take a look at this video where we see some testing being done with users on the Way of St. James, the way to Santiago. So we're using guiding technology using the mobile telephone and sound. It finds a person who's using the application and then using different markers or beacons. They can find this person in the city or in rural areas. Now, this pilot program is just trying to analyze how this technology really does help users. The application indicates the direction that you're walking in when you're moving along a path. And there's something it does very well, and that is starting from zero, I can tell if I'm going in the right direction or not. But this is extremely helpful for me.
2.65 kilometers.
2.65 kilometers to go, says the app. We want all of our software to be accessible for people with disabilities, and the ONCE Foundation plays a huge role in this to tell us which things we need to include and make better so that the software really is accessible. We think that the future is these intelligent types of apps, and we're still working on collaboration because technology is growing so fast. Microsoft is such cutting edge, on the cutting edge of technology and these emerging technologies that I'm sure that in just a few years we'll be collaborating in areas that we can't even imagine today. Another of the areas that we're working in is in innovation and cooperation. We're doing this in a very open fashion. We're working with all different stakeholders in many different innovation processes. And this is extremely important to collaborate with people with disabilities, to solve their problems with the elderly, to realize what difficulties they face in their day-to-day. So we need to analyze whether different things can be done or not. You've probably seen in the presentation the different things that are being done. And so through these open innovation processes, we're working together with all of these people to develop solutions for the development of prototypes that we then test. And one of the most ambitious projects, and the one that's had the most successful, has been collaboration with Astrum. The whole team has been working on this project with Alstom as a company. Our Director General and myself and others went to Paris and Lyon to look at. We were in the Alstom facilities and we were working with a team during a full 2 days to seeing what they had and what we could do together. And the response to this project in Alstom was frankly interesting. Internationally, it's having an important impact. They're designing mobility projects, underground buses to make these more and more flexible. They're leaders really in these issues. They won a prize just recently with Renfe on commuter trains to Barcelona Underground and so forth. So congratulations to Alstom for working hard on this project. Also congratulations to Jose Luis for these great results. IDIF, a company that we've been working with for a long time, also has implemented a similar project, and with Google, we're generating something together as well. We work together on technological solutions, implementing skills that can respond to the needs of people with disabilities through their technology, and also they are implementing a pro bono project with us. They're giving us technical experts to create or modulate and help us with projects to achieve success in these projects. Now, in R&D projects, in a couple of years, we'll be inaugurating an innovation space to develop R&D projects, and this year, 2021, we've launched a vehicle
puesta en marcha como sponsor Inserta Innovación, dos proyectos de estas
características. Por lo tanto,
estamos muy interesados.
The Foundation is very interested in seeing how we can develop these projects that include innovation. These two projects will have a huge impact on the inclusion of people with disabilities. One is in the labor area. If this had happened, or if this project had been in place before the pandemic, we wouldn't have had the problems that we've had in terms of accessibility and the exclusion of many people, especially those with disabilities. And the other project is in robotics, but both projects are really disruptive technologies. One is the ELISA project. This is an automatic translator from sign language. This was a long project. We've been working for a long time. It was very hard to get these functional prototypes because, as you'll understand, I'm sure, it really requires a lot of imaging, a lot of video to be able to train this system so that it can really determine not just a conversation, but just some simple actions. And also, we have another one called Lana for artificial intelligence, and this is voice recognition. We're working here. This is much more mature technology, and soon we'll see results from the Lana project. The Access robot is robotics. This is a group, a research group led by Almudena Alcaide, doing fantastic work. On this Access robot. This project was born of a work forum, a meeting of people with disabilities, and where we need to resolve problems. That was in the area of labor, Access job, and then the other area was Access robot. Let's take a look at the a video now with this first test that we did on the robot. The Access robot and Transport develops the first robots in open spaces like hospitals, shopping centers, train stations, or airports. Now, these pictures show the robot mapping an area in a shopping center, the glass shop windows and so forth were only some of the challenges that we had to face. These pictures show the test that we did with the robot in a shopping area called Espacio. So thanks to our collaborators, we've been able to work out all kinds of issues, measuring heights of different things, different sensors, and the speed of the robot. And we can get into a train station. This is Chamartín in Madrid to run some tests with a lot of people, a lot of obstacles. And once it was in the station, we mapped the whole station, identifying all of the fixed and mobile and temporary obstacles, and drew up an exact map of the facility. And then, it allowed the robot to move freely through the entire train station without running into any obstacles. So congratulations to the team, the whole team that are developing fantastic work in this research area. And this opens the door to a future field of work, which is quite interesting. In these disruptive technologies that we don't know where they're heading, really, we're having very good results, but over the next 10 or 11 years, or in 2021, once we get to 2032, I'm sure that technology will be almost unrecognizable. We'll see technologies that we can't even imagine today. So if we continue down this path, we will accomplish this. We're also working on accessibility in video games, and Garcia has been working very hard with this, collaborating with manufacturers and doing hardware analyses. We're analyzing accessibility through tests with users. Like I said, with Microsoft and Xbox, and Sony with PlayStation, and Nintendo. We're also collaborating with developers. How a person with how a gamer with a disability can play on a level playing field with any other gamer. And we have schools of developers to develop this software, providing training on accessibility. And we're also creating a whole network of collaboration with gamers. We are fostering gamers with disabilities so they get involved in this world. And this is inclusion. A child who doesn't game today could feel excluded. So we want to make sure that these games do not have any barriers. This happened to me with the first edition of Big Brother. Since I didn't like football, I didn't have a subject of conversation with boys, so I felt completely excluded because of my wheelchair. So a child who doesn't play video games also feels excluded even more than from their own disability. Another activity that we've implemented, and I'm finishing up now, is entrepreneurship with social impact. So this is for entrepreneurs that try to solve a problem related to accessibility or disability, and to foster or model and support business. Some time ago, different entrepreneurs came to us. They asked for help and collaboration. Sometimes they asked us for money, and we, using different models to help them to model their solutions, to test their solutions on people with disabilities, to tell them if it has a future or not. We sometimes say, don't continue with the project because it's not going to be successful. And sometimes you save the entrepreneur money and time and effort, and you save the investors as well. because we know the market, and we often know if it's going to be successful or not. So, and sometimes we also buy pilots and incorporate them if we see that there's a need for a pilot or a startup. Then we do that. This year, we fostered 8 startups, and 2 of these are now almost where they're being financed. One's a collaboration with 4 million euros, and the other has about 17 million euros of support. So what we've been able to contribute to these startups, we think is important. We've created networks as well with all of the different social impact entities, the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurs with social impact and other types of impacts as well, not just in disability. And I encourage you to download this X-ray of entrepreneurs with disability. And throughout this whole presentation, I've been talking about what we do, talked about some of the people on the teams, and maybe I've left some people out, but I hope that they don't feel forgotten, because the whole team on the accessibility team, I think, is the most fantastic team in the world. And the different projects that maybe that I didn't mention, like Monica Rodriguez, who has been working very hard in the experimental standard of easy reading, or Marian, who is working extremely hard also on Accesibilitas. This is a group of professionals. It's probably the best accessibility team in the world. Now, what are we thinking about for the future? Well, we need to continue working on accessibility. We cannot tolerate like what happened in COP26 in Glasgow. A minister in a wheelchair could not gain access to an event in a summit this important due to lack of accessibility. Now, this is something that does not happen in Spain. In COP25, it was completely accessible and in record time. Remember, COP25 was supposed to be in Chile, and due for some different reasons, it was held in Madrid in a record time. And we started to work, and especially Mari Carmen worked very hard. She was there every day, putting together ramps and making the whole place accessible. So we have to continue working on accessibility in the constructed environments. And we also need to work on these projects in a comprehensive and global fashion. Another very important issue is data. We have a lot of data. They're maybe not sufficiently structured, and there are data that could be modeled to provide interesting results, to come up with solutions and models. And so we are working with the government, with the Secretary of State for Artificial Intelligence, and to develop different social projects. And we need to continue to work on R&D projects focused on disruptive technologies. We have a project on intelligent materials, intelligent pavements with sensors, providing information to citizens, to people with disabilities, and we'll see how we focus that and projects such as these. So I'm going to stop there. I went just 7 minutes over my time. I don't want to go on much longer.
la gente pierde la
just
atención.
and people tell me that in 20 minutes, people their attention span only lasts for 10 minutes. I have made an effort, however, and I hope that this presentation has been interesting to you. Everything that we're doing in our foundation, we're doing this with great passion because we are fully convinced that the work that we're doing is to resolve our own problems and the problems of the future generations for people that have a disability. So welcome to the Congress. Enjoy, learn a lot, and thanks for being here. Goodbye.
Pues muchísimas gracias, Jesús. Has
Thanks
sido
very much,
capaz de
Jesus.
romper las
You've been
normas de
able
las
to
conferencias porque nos has mantenido con la atención plena
keep our
estos
full
60 minutos.
attention
Lo
for
puedo
those
asegurar y
60
además
minutes, and I
debemos
can assure
felicitar
you, I
también
need to
porque no tengo
congratulate you
ninguna
because
duda de que como
I'm
autoridades
absolutely sure that, as you
mejor
said,
equipo del mundo
you have
y
the
nos has
best team
dejado
in the world. And
impresionados. Nos has
you've
dejado
really impressed us.
impresionar
You've
con todo lo que estáis
impressed
haciendo
us with
con la
everything that you're
tecnología
doing
al
with
servicio de las
technology
personas
at
con
the service
discapacidad.
of people with
Tantos
disabilities.
proyectos que
So
mejoran la
many
calidad de
projects that
vida de las
improve the quality of
personas
life of
y que
people
consiguen el objetivo de
and that
fomentar el
reach the
acceso
objectives of the Unsafe Foundation,
en todos
which
los
is the
aspectos de
inclusion
estas
in
personas
all
con
aspects of
discapacidad.
these people with
Y ahora,
disabilities.